Today, people lift weights, track macros, take supplements, all sorts of stuff. But human training hasn't always been this way. Tens of thousands of years ago, it looked nothing like it does today. In this video, we're going to take a little journey through the entire history of human physical training, from prehistoric ancestors all the way to the modern gym bro. Let's go. Long before treadmills and powdered supplements, human training was about one thing: survival. Early humans stayed active out of necessity. Hunter-gatherers ran, climbed, and threw spears when hunting or traveling. And Paleolithic life alternated 1 to 2 days of intense exertion, hunting, and gathering, with rest days filled by social visits, long walks, and other cultural events. In this way, survival tasks were the training. There were no gyms, obviously, but communal rituals and other cultural events doubled as exercise and social bonding. Fitness was built into daily life, ensuring endurance and strength for the next hunt or cultural event. As agriculture arose, societies became settled, and thus exercise was formalized. In early empires, physical training served multiple purposes such as military, health, or religious goals. For example, the Persian Empire demanded rigorous fitness. By age 6, boys practiced hunting, marching, horseback riding, and javelin throwing to become soldiers. In ancient China, philosophical teachings emphasized exercise and harmony with nature. Chinese systems like Kung Fu gymnastics imitated animal movements for health, and styles like Tai Chi taught graceful, continuous movements for longevity. In India, early medical texts and the yoga tradition insisted that diet, flexibility, breathing, and posture were essential for both body and spirit. Other cultures integrated exercise in daily life. African tribes built agility and endurance through martial dance rituals. Native Americans used running for war, communication, and myth. Across these civilizations, sport and war training often blurred, ritual ball games, archery contests, all that sort of stuff. In addition to more formalized training, some of the big names that you'd have are like the Greek training, which I've done on this channel, and the Roman Empire. Huge militaries, but they also had things like the Olympics, and that was the first of the Olympics, and they also had, the gladiators and everything. So those were some of the big sort of early training. They would train for actual sport and not just ritual or hunting or really just out of daily activity. Next, we have the Middle Ages. With Rome gone, medieval training centered on combat skill. Early medieval barbarian tribes lived as farmers and herders, so their daily lives kept them naturally strong. As feudal states formed, knights and soldiers needed systematic training. Much exercise was martial practice. For example, climbing castle walls to prepare for sieges, throwing heavy stones, etc. They would do things also like vault onto horses, practice throwing spears, and there was also all sorts of strength building, like using double-weighted swords, pushing stone carts, lifting boulders. Also many sport tournaments for training, jousting, fencing, etc. All very common activities during this time. In the East, monastic traditions, I hope I pronounced that right, arose, where monks combined martial arts training with spiritual discipline, though few contemporary texts survive. Across cultures, medieval training was closely linked to warfare and ritual combat, and mainly just soldier readiness. Though I should also note up to this point, there's not a ton known about some of these more ancient or even modern training styles. There's not a whole lot written down, so there's kind of some inference going on here from when I researched this. Now we're moving on to the early modern period, so like 15 to 1800, basically the Renaissance, so a rediscovery of, balanced body and mind. There's a lot of emphasis on physical education and how it enhances learning. Renaissance masters would write about the first, exercise books. One that I found here in my research, Cristobal Mendez from 1553. Not sure if I pronounced that right. Many different things in these books, analyzing different drills, games, etc. You'd also have different sports and gymnasts. One gymnast was Götz Muths. He's a German gymnast, I guess, from 1800. And you'd have different sports, fencing, and other things like that. And gymnastics were a huge thing for this era. Now we sort of have a more modern era where there's a lot more documentation about it, which is sort of like early America, New World type era. Obviously, in early America, there was a lot of farming and frontier life, so it kind of went back to that survival-esque. You know, you had to stay active out of necessity. But Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, among other main leaders, recommended daily running, swimming, and other things for health. And then we get into the industrial era. Industrialization reduced the need for manual labor, which sparked a more conscious fitness movement. Cities saw the rise of gymnasiums, clubs, and athletic societies. For example, 19th century YMCA halls taught synchronized calisthenics and club swinging in large classes. And this is stuff you can all find. There's pictures of it. It's actually really cool and interesting that we have this documentation from just over 100 years ago. So I'd highly recommend looking at some of these images. I'll put a couple on screen, but yeah, you have all sorts of stuff that they did back then. Just a lot of, it seemed to be a lot of gymnastics and whatnot, and definitely very different from what we see today. All right, then we have the 20th century. Fitness diversified quite a bit, you know, both into competitive sports and also a huge just market. Sports specialization grew. Track, swimming, gymnastics, team sports became globally recognized. World wars institutionalized physical training, of course, so back to the military thing. History always repeats itself. And this would obviously consist of calisthenics, obstacle courses, and physical tests becoming, you know, main standards in the military. The fitness industry boomed after World War II, though. Home exercise machines, televised workouts, and aerobics classes, stuff like that. All that brought into the comfort of your own living room. Scientific exercise physiology emerged as well, and this would have been in the 1950s, 1960s. And obviously this is when a big boom with nutrition and other sciences was just exploding worldwide. So by late century, the focus on appearance grew instead of just about health. And this is where we'd get to the early bodybuilding scene that we see today. Now we have the 21st century. Today's fitness landscape is global, high-tech. I mean, there's so much. It's a huge market. The primary motive is usually health, longevity, but also weight loss, stress relief, aesthetics, all that stuff. Training methods range from boutique programs, bodybuilding programs, whatever. I mean, you've seen it everywhere. There's a huge variety of things, and obviously that main focus, especially today, I feel like is definitely health and how you look are the two biggest things. And that's sort of the overall history of, you know, training. I think just to end out this video, I think it's very interesting how we've come from survival all the way to, you know, looks and training for health, but also different sports and stuff. Like there's pretty much any reason you could think of. But we sort of had a cycle, you know. It was from survival to, you know, the ancient Greeks and Romans where they had sports and they had military training like we do today, and obviously they had standards for looks. But then we sort of went back to survival or out of necessity or just what we did day to day made us strong over and over. And now you kind of see a wide variety of everything. Some people, that is their daily lives. You know, if you're a farmer, you're probably just going to be naturally strong. But people train for sports, you know, the Olympics or other sports. And people also just train to look good. There's a lot of standards today, too. So I think it's very interesting. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. I did spend quite a bit of time just researching this. I think it's very interesting, so I'd definitely look into it yourself to find any other details I may have missed. But that's all I have. You guys have a great rest of your day. Like and subscribe. Comment what your favorite era is or what your favorite takeaway from this video was. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.